Managing your impact maximizes your influence. Kellie Garrett is the Senior Vice President of Strategy, Knowledge, and Reputation at Canada Farm Credit, a $23 billion enterprise. She has led her team to a remarkable 100 marketing and communication awards and has 92% employee engagement record. Today she tells us about managing your impact to maximize your influence.
I'm rather hyper, which is why I'm involved in all these things. I've always had too much energy, partly genetically because I have iron overload. So if you have too much iron, you have too much energy. And so I was told when I was 40 that I had a strong presence and that I was intense. And I went home and said to my husband, I can't believe it. They said I'm intense and I have a big presence and I don't know what they're talking about. And he's looking at me like you are. Like, well, yeah. And so how could you live in your own skin for 40 years and not know that? I did not know. And so I then also became aware that this became more and more of an issue as I became very senior and was senior very young. I was a VP at 37. If you have a big presence and you are fast and overly talkative and extraordinarily speedy, you overwhelm people. And if you overwhelm people, then you intimidate them. And if you intimidate them, you can't have a real dialogue and you can't communicate. And one wonderful coach said to me once, have you ever noticed that when the radio is on, when it first goes on, you listen and then it stays on and you tune out. If somebody's talking all the time, it's like the radio always being on. And so I thought, I'm kind of talkative. So the next executive meeting, there were 20 of us. I put everyone's name down and I started just putting a mark for every time they spoke, not about what they spoke or how long. And to my horror, at the end of 3 hours, I had spoken as much as the other most talkative person in the room, and that was on a day I was ratcheting it back. And so that was the beginning of the journey to, yes, I'm enthusiastic, yes, I'm extroverted, yes, I have tons of ideas and I think they're good. But if I'm the main person talking, then it's worth nothing. It's like the radio always on. And so it was very difficult for me to learn to pull back and still feel engaged because I felt like I literally was muzzling myself. But I also started noticing that when I did speak, people were listening more because the radio wasn't always on. And so it became a virtuous spiral and I became much better at that and started coaching those around me on that. And so another wonderful coach said to me once, you're trying to cut out who it is you really are. You can't cut out of yourself the fact that you are fast and bright and talkative and exuberant. What you can do is try and throttle it back. And I said, oh, sort of like a Ferrari's still a Ferrari even if it's parked. And it can let her rip on the Autobahn, but when it's parked, it's still a Ferrari. And not that I'm a Ferrari, I didn't mean that analogy. And he said, that's exactly right. You've got to start managing yourself like a high-performance car. And that has served me so wonderfully well because I go into meetings now sometimes, and we're having a few contentious ones at present, and I know that as soon as I talk, it'll shift the direction of the dialogue. So if I really want to know what everyone in the room thinks, I really can't talk much till I've heard it all. And that is so against what I'm naturally like, but I think it's vital. And so managing your impact on others often doesn't equal your intention, but it's impact that matters, it's not intention.
If you're inspired and ready to advance your career, ask about our course designed around the lessons from Canada's top 25 women of influence.